This week's DRM Not Included on F5 Live Refreshing Technology is proudly powered by Amazon Prime. We all know that you get free shipping on millions of products with Amazon Prime, but you get a whole lot more. Like free music with Amazon Prime Music, free TV, movies, and documentaries with Amazon Prime Video, free games, and a free Twitch subscription to support the content creator of your choice with Amazon Prime Gaming, plus a whole lot more. We've got links to all of these features and some of our favorites, plus a 30-day free trial, all by going to f5live.tv/prime. The last couple of years have been interesting for AI-generated content. In particular, AI-generated imagery. I'm not going to use the word art for a particular reason. AI-generated imagery has been controversial in the early days, and by that I mean 6 months ago. Most people were generally ignoring it. It was a toy. I definitely used that one that everybody was using to create, aliens at Thanksgiving because the concept was funny to me. And that was about the extent of that. But just over the last couple of months, and in particular over the last couple of weeks, what it has been able to create has gotten significantly more advanced. And that has created some problems. In particular, it has created some ethical and legal ramifications. The legal issue is, what is being used to train these systems? Oftentimes what happens is a Google image search is performed. Those images are all downloaded, pulled in, used to train the AI with no regard for copyright or IP protection. And artists have taken notice, particularly when the imagery that comes out of these systems looks very similar to either their style or nearly art that they have created themselves. So the question has come up, what is the copyright and IP protection involved in a computer essentially scraping the internet and taking images that are available on Google image search or on an art portfolio site to train the AI? Generally, the belief, especially among artists, is no. You may not do that. I did not give you permission for that usage. Search results do not change the copyright intent or the copyright licensing, and so no. Many of these systems go, and continue to do it anyway. Some, one whose name has slipped my mind, Stability AI, is allowing artists to opt out. But you have to know, as an artist, that this thing exists. You have to then go to a different website and see if your imagery has been used to train the AI, and then you have to go actively opt out of that usage. Now, that's not going to be legally protected, I guarantee it. When these lawsuits get started, and they will, that's not going to be protected. On the other side is the ethical ramifications of claiming the output of these systems as your own. Several of the comic book publishers have come out and said, if you submit something that has come out of one of these AI systems, you will be blacklisted from our publication permanently, and I will do everything in my power to make sure that everybody else knows too. Because artists are taking this seriously, partially because of the legal and partially because of the ethical ramifications here. It's definitely an interesting thing that's going on. What is your take on this?
It's funny, but it seems like we've seen an explosion of AI, or at least publicly available AI content creation tools in the last month.
Yes.
Because ChatGPT
Mm-hmm.
has become a really big thing in the world of text. And a very interesting topic that we could have just as easily talked about in the same vein
Mm-hmm.
is I was reading a lot the last few days about teachers that are very concerned about plagiar. Well, you wouldn't call it would you call it plagiarism? About people using Chat GPT to create their school paper, to
Right.
create their school essays. And I've seen different perspectives on this. Like one was from a high school English teacher who said, this is so good now that kids don't need to learn to write essays anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that very offensive. But then I saw one from a college philosophy professor who said something like, we need to be really careful to stop this. And like, there is a tool that the Chat GPT people make that helps you detect
Mm-hmm.
Chat GPT uh, text, but it's only 99% accurate.
Right.
And college like policies are not updated to deal with this in the same way
Right.
that they discipline plagiarism.
Right.
Uh,
Is this considered
so
cheating? That right? And that's exactly the same thing we're looking at here, right?
yeah,
Several of the comic book publishers are considering it cheating and saying we will blacklist you from ever publishing with us. Your name will be on a list. You will never be able to publish anything with us again. That's it. You'll be done. But the schools for written stuff, their policies probably don't, based
yeah.
on
I
the way they're
mean,
written,
there's
they're probably not up to date on whether or not this would be cheating, one way or another. It's probably a weird vagary.
Yeah, well, here's another thing that's kind of messed up though. Like the comic artists obviously have a strong interest in not having AI take over their job. By
Sure.
the way, as a professional writer, I have a very strong interest in having AI not do my job either.
Right.
Um, we don't want but I think our big worry should not be what other comic creators or other writers think of people who use AI, of individuals who use AI. We should be worried about companies using AI to
Mm-hmm.
replace humans. And it is quite conceivable. I know there's already AIs that write news, that write
Mm-hmm.
news stories. There's already AIs that do some amount of writing. So, like, yeah, I could totally see this happening. On the other hand, like, what an AI can do research to a point, but
Mm-hmm.
it can't it can't have experiences,
Right.
right?
It
So
could not
unless
write.
it's
It could not write about its experience trying to install 4 monitors of
right,
varying
exactly.
models.
Right, because it didn't do that, right?
Right.
It could go out and it could try to fake it from reading other people who have done it, but at some point someone has to actually try to put 4 monitors in,
Right.
or someone has to actually sit and type on this keyboard to write a review of it,
Mm-hmm.
or like to test it. Like, so experiences, or if you're going out and you're doing journalism and you're interviewing people, someone's got to actually conduct an interview. It's not an AI. So like,
Yeah.
there's like anything though that is not original, like, oh, I'm just kind of regurgitating something.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, an AI could probably do and possibly do better than possibly do as well as a person, at least
Sure.
if not now, then soon. So that it is kind of scary, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, as far as it
I,
comes
I'll
to
tell you,
art, like, yeah,
I've been experimenting with a lot of AIs, um,
man,
text generation, visual generation, audio generation. Um, the text generation is interesting. Um, they are really good at misattributing quotes, which is still going to be a huge problem for trying to do news stuff. But you're right, they can research a topic that's not bleeding edge, um, and write decently, you still need somebody to clean it up, because it definitely, everyone I've touched definitely sounds like a computer wrote it. Right. You read it and it's a little chunky, it's a little, sometimes a little too formal for a very soft topic, things like that. Um, but you're right. It's, if text generation can improve as quickly as this image generation has over the last 6 months, it could be a challenge.
Yeah. No, I mean, no question about it. I mean, I also do worry about, uh, I do worry about that. I mean, I guess the question is, you know, when you're talking about creative work, do people matter? Like, and I
Right.
mean, like, does the authenticity of having it from a real person matter?
Right.
Right. Like, one thing to note, by the way, is that one thing that Google does right now in terms of its algorithm for finding text content is it
Mm-hmm.
has a principle called EAT: expertise, authority, and trust.
Nom nom.
And the Google God is, we don't know that the Google God always follows through with what the Google God says,
Right.
but the Google God says that, like, we're going to judge you based on your, like, the author matters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm looking at what this author is known for doing, how long they've done it, like, et cetera, et cetera. So an AI doesn't have a reputation. Now maybe that changes in the future, uh, but an AI doesn't. Maybe that AI is Google in the future. Maybe Google's just like, I'm just going to write my own news now. I don't know, but um, but as far as we know, like, people like people you know want authority in some respect. Like, they
Yeah.
want expertise, they want authority. They so I'm not sure that they will always get that from, some things may be acceptable the AI way, including in terms of art. But I can understand why artists who did the real work don't want the AI to profit off of their work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And it also brings us to the question of what is art, right? Is something created by a computer art? Or does it require that authenticity? Does it require showing something from the heart to be considered art as opposed to just imagery? Which is the reason why I've been using the term AI generated imagery, because I'm still debating personally on where my definition falls.
I mean, art is, in the eye of the beholder. So I guess if I think that it's art, then it's art. But I mean, people would have there are people who would say that Jackson Pollocks are not art because it's just a splatter, but then other people look at it and see something of great meaning. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to say, right? I
Sure.
mean, I think it's
Duct taping a
obviously an
banana to the
eye of the
wall,
beholder.
right? Is that art? Which was
If
the
it's in a
debate?
museum.
Which was the debate? What, in 2019? Was that when that happened? Um, Modern art has constantly come under that same conversation of what is art? Is duct taping a banana to a wall art? And is something created by a computer after we're ingesting and then kind of regurgitating a sampling of other things, is it art? Who knows? It's definitely going to keep philosophers busy. I suspect for a generation,
Yep, no
and
question.
I also think it's going to keep. I think it's going to keep lawyers busy. Did you say you had a question, or that was a good question?
Yeah, it's a good question as to whether, well, I mean, there's going to be some wonderful lawsuits.
Yeah, for sure. And they will be fascinating to follow. You know, the monkey selfie was a fascinating thing to follow. Who was the owner of the photo? All of this is going to be an equally interesting, you know, case law to keep track of over the next couple years, because we're just getting started in this. This is just the beginning, and I guarantee it's going to get way more interesting very quickly. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of F5 Live Refreshing Technology. If you did, please subscribe to the channel down below, and of course hit the notification bell, because we know that subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. If you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future, please comment them down below. And if you'd like to not follow us on YouTube, there's lots of ways that you can follow along with our content by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all of the ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.